let's see. Can you see me? Watching. Oh, okay. It's the first time streaming for me, so I don't know. I have to get used to, because there's two chats now, and there's, I guess you can hear me, right? I put the other stuff on my other monitor. Say something in the live chat in the YouTube part if you hear me. Oh, bummer. Okay. Yeah, I know you're Portuguese. Okay, so for example, so now you want to blend between these two. So I'm using here I can change the size. So David Revoa basic flow. If we use something like that, then Now if you use a harsher brush, no, just you should see it in the bottom of the screen. Yeah, I know you can hear me. Okay, so the brush is in the bottom status bar left. What you have basic flow. This one. Now if we go with something more harsh, like 2C flat, and if we try to do the same, it's going to be even more difficult to actually make these things blend. Now it's not impossible because you can vary the opacity, but it's going to produce, well, not very nice results. So it's basically the same idea as before. Okay, and then in the next one I'm going to use a brush that I made, which is called Digital Impasto, but it's basically actually no, let's try another one from David Revoix. So let's say Textured Wet, because it's basically the same idea. Because it's a smudge brush. So with this one, you think that you are able to do a better job at blending. I have to be very, very light on the touch. And for the most part, yeah, it's nice. As you can see, we can blend a little bit better. But it's still not perfect. Now, let's try something completely different. I will paint with white on this, on another layer, using something like a large airbrush, like so. And then I move to an eraser and I erase the parts that I don't need. And you can see with this you can have a blend, a nice blend here. Nice blend. And over here you can also have no, I need to switch back to this or this. If I start erasing some of this stuff away, you can also get a very harsh blend. And you can do as many layers as this you want, and then when you're done with them you can just merge down. And let's see. And then there's another way I do things. So this brush is very interesting because what it does, the brush, this brush puts a bit of paint and then it only smudges. So let me demonstrate to you. So if I do a couple of brush strokes like so, and then now I'm pressing down, and as you can see it only smudges. It's not putting any more, it's not adding any more color. So over here I made this, if you want for example harsh edges on this side, and then you just brush away on the other side. And this gives it a very impasto look to it, I guess. So over here, hard edge, painterly blend. So this brush will be included in the next release of my brush set. It's not there yet because I'm still experimenting with it. So problem with this is that it's muddy. This here has an interesting, it's not so much of a problem, it has an interesting texture. So interesting texture, but it's still kind of muddy. And the same over here, if you just use a regular with regular smudge or smudge brush, is that it also gives it this sort of messy feel to it. So what you should use is here, let's grab a different color. So here come on, give me something nice. This is okay. So the way to do it is first, let's see if I can find some space here or make some space. So one is make new layer. Do I use airbrush erase unwanted parts. And finally, when you're satisfied, merge down. So that's this here. Whereas here, this is, well, I'm using a custom brush, so it's kind of fairly difficult for you to do. But I guess it's kind of the same as this over here with the smudge brush, except it's a particular type of smudge that gives it, you can have hard edges and then you can blend some stuff. So now, if we move over to your painting, there were a couple of things, problems with it. Let's see if I can, how can I do this? Let's make the height more, increase the height, add okay, so that I have space to write. Too large. Okay, so anatomy, this is what the problems you had. Anatomy, one. Nose, too high. So you need to, I had to move the nose down because, oops, this has to go on a different layer here. Usually what happens is the bottom of the nose is really where the bottom of the ear also resides, and the top of the ear is usually around the brow region. There are variations of course, but you get the idea. Then the eyes are fine, except they don't look volumetric enough. They're not how should I put this? They're not round enough on the corners, I guess. So eyes. Usually you want to have this sort of, very simplified. So eyes usually have this sort of angle to them, like so. So the bottom lip, the bottom part, goes something like this. Yeah, it's not needed for you to, I don't need it. I don't need it because I'm just explaining some basic things. And I have the other picture. So if I go here, open link. No, here. Okay. See, I have it here. Let's trim me down, trim to selection. Okay, so problem first problem. First problem is this ellipse. That would be like, let's grab another color. So ellipse, too much color saturation. Then around here on the eye region, the eyebrows and these things. Nice. Eyebrows. Are too harsh. They need to be more implied. And come on, computer. Man. Or Krita, or I don't know what. Don't use lines. So, see what I was saying with the ear. Ear has to be a bit like that, and let's try quickly to paint this over. And the bottom around here somewhere. Next, the color of the shadow is just let me just write that down. The color of the shadow is just darker version of the base color in your painting. So that's not good. You should use some other color variations, like let's try something like purple. Why not? And also make it more less saturated. Make it more gray, and make it more gray instead of just going towards lowering the saturation. Go also more gray. So, and this already like improves it a lot just by doing this few strokes here and there. And then for the highlights, you want to have more, maybe more saturation and more also towards, change the hue, not just from the base value, but also change the hue towards yellow, for example, here and there. Okay, so let's try fixing this lips here. So they're way too saturated. That's the number one thing. And then they don't usually have this sort of shape, I guess. Let's pick a dark color. They start off on the corners, dark, where the bottom lip and the upper lip meet. And that's usually pretty dark. And then this separation over here has some dark areas for the shadows, and then over here we have this dimple. Okay, and on the upper side let's do shadowy area, because we take like a typical day where the sun is above or the light source is above. And then take a little bit of this highlight and drop it on the bottom part, bottom lip. And that's pretty much all you have to do. And over here you might want to have highlights on the upper parts of the lips, just where the lips terminate. And I think that this also improves it a lot immediately. So either do the ears, like put them in the right place, like so, and maybe have what else? Maybe the lips are the face is kind of elongated, so the lips are probably fine. So you see how this add a little bit more red in some parts, but don't go overboard with it. I guess that's the main. Over here should be darker as well, and possibly the whole region has to be a bit darker. Underneath. And then you have some highlights around. And also on the nose in general, yeah, you might want to add in a bit more redness to it, red pigment. Yeah, that's all I have. Well, it's not that I like. Yeah, I like it. Sure, it's he has very nice introductory short videos, like 5, not even 5, 4, 6 minutes per idea, per technique, per, and it's already. Oh yeah, and another thing over here, and another thing I forgot on your painting is the face is too orange. It's, if we look at the color selector over here, and it's way too saturated. In general, you want to have something around this area. So don't use too saturated colors. Yeah, control paint. It's very, very nice explanation, introductory videos. Alright, that's it, I'm done. Thanks for letting me play with your painting. I turn this off.